Hello students, today I am going to discuss Coleridge's poem The Ancient Mariner. As you know that William Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge are the two important figures of 19th century British Romantic age. Now Coleridge wrote this poem in the year 1797-98, and this poem was published in Lyrical Ballads, which was published in 1798. As you know, that Lyrical Ballads is a joint venture of William Wordsworth and Coleridge, and the date is important because it is the starting point of the Romantic age in 19th century. Lyrical Ballads contains 23 poems, and out of those 23 poems, 19 poems were contributed by William Wordsworth and 4 poems were contributed by Coleridge. This poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, was published in this collection. Now, another edition of this poem was published in 1817. And I think 1817, this year is also significant because Biographia Literaria was published in this particular year. There is one edition which was published in the year 1817 with a gloss, that is, some annotations are also given there. Now this poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, recounts the experience of a sailor who has returned from a long sea voyage. The mariner stops a man who is on his way to a wedding ceremony and begins to narrate a story. What happens after that? Does he narrate the story? Does the wedding guest listens to the story willingly? All these points you will find out in this poem. It's a long poem. It has 7 parts, and there are 3 striking themes which you will find out in this poem. As you know that this poem is a ballad, and the poet, while going through the poem, you will come across 3 important themes. Number 1 is sin and penance. Why this theme? You will find out while going through the poem. 1 is sin and penance. Number 2 is the power of prayer. And number 3 is mystery and the supernatural. These are the 3 important themes which you'll find out in this poem. Sin and penance, the power of prayer, and mystery and the supernatural. While reading the poem, you'll find out why is there such kind of themes. We have the characters in the poem like the ancient mariner, the wedding guest, the hermit, the pilot's boy, death, life in death, the first voice, the second voice, the crew. But we have the major role of the ancient mariner. So let us now start the poem. If you have the text with you, so that will be convenient and you will be able to understand the poem very well. I will also try to analyze some important literary devices which are used by the poet in the poem. So let us now start the poem. As you know that Coleridge is a great supernatural poet of Romantic age, and this poem is an example of his supernaturalism. This is the first stanza of the first part of the poem, and as I told you in the beginning that there are 7 parts in the poem. It's a long poem. Now in this quatrain, that is a stanza of 4 lines, it is an ancient mariner. It's the word is used for old, but the word ancient, I think, is used in order to give supernatural effect to the poem. And he stoppeth one of the 3. by thy long grey beard glittering eye. These are the two phrases, adjectival phrases used for uh, ancient manner. Now, wherefore stoppest thou me? First of all, I would like to tell you that Coleridge has used many archaic words in the poem. Archaic means words no longer in use. Now, just look at the word stoppeth. It's not used. It stops. Then we have thy, this, you. Then we have the word wherefore. Okay, wherefore means why. So these are the archaic words he has used. Now, what kind of person ancient manner is? Grey beard, glittering. Glittering means bright, shining. So it is an ancient mariner, and he stops one of the three. One of the three. So one of the three means there were the three persons who were, going for a wedding party, and he stopped one of the, three persons. Ancient mariner had grey beard and glittering eye. And the person who was stopped by ancient mariner, he said, now wherefore stoppest thou me? Again, it's an example of archaic words. That wedding guest says, why have you, stopped me? Now, the second stanza, in the second stanza, you'll find out, but, before I come to second stanza, just look at the rhyming pattern which he has used in this quatrain. If it is A, mariner does not match with 3, then it is B, it's C. So first line is not rhyming with second or the third, but 3 me, okay, it's rhyming with each other. So the rhyme pattern will be A B C B. A, B, C, B. That is second line rhyming with fourth line. This is the rhyme pattern in this quatrain. Now coming to the second stanza of part 1. He holds him with his skinny hand. Skinny. Again, you'll find out how Coleridge is trying to add supernatural effect in the poem. Skinny. I think one stanza is left. So let us. This is the second stanza. So let us come to this. The bridegroom's doors are opened wide, and I am next of kin. The guests are met, the feast is set, mayst hear the merry din. Now the person who was stopped by that ancient manner, he was going for a wedding. He said to the seller that the doors of the bridegroom's house had been opened, and it shows that the ceremony was about to begin. He said, bridegroom's doors are opened wide, and I am next of kin. Kin. Kin is relative or member of the family. Member of the family. And I am next of kin. Kin means I am close relative of the family. The guests are met. All the guests have already arrived. The feast is set, and the dinner had been laid. Mayst hear the merry din. Din means you can say the sound, noise of the wedding songs. Mayst, may. You can hear the happy wedding songs. Why have you stopped me? You can hear the music of the songs. And I am going to the wedding ceremony, and you have stopped me. The guests are met. The guests have arrived, and it is also late. The dinner is also late. Now you'll find out here A, B, C, and B, because this second line is rhyming with fourth line. So again we have A, B, C, B as rhyming pattern. Now this third line, you just look at the third line. The guests are met, the feast is set. There are different kind of rhymes. If you want to get more knowledge about rhythm and rhyme, you can watch the video uploaded by me on my channel that is specifically on rhythm and rhyme. Now this is the end rhyme. Okay, if the last syllable is rhyming, but here you'll find out the rhyme within the sentence. Met and set, they are rhyming with each other. So it is called internal rhyme. Internal rhyme. It's an example of internal rhyme. Again, this word maced is an archaic word because it is no longer in use. Now, as the wedding guest tells that ancient mariner, the bridegroom doors are opened wide, and I am close relative of the family. The guests have also arrived, and the dinner is also laid, and you can hear the sound of the music of that ceremony. So why have you stopped me? Coming to the next stanza. Now he holds him with his skinny hand. Skinny. There are so many, adjectives which are used for the ancient mariner. You've already seen in the first stanza that the word grey beard was used. Glittering eye was used. And here you have skinny hand. Skinny means thin. But generally you'll find out the skinny hand if you see the picture of ghost, as you see in the plays of Shakespeare. There is a kind of resentment from the side of the wedding guest that he's not ready to listen to the story going to be narrated by the ancient mariner, because he says, I'm going to attend the wedding ceremony. Everybody has come, and I'm very close relative of the family. He holds him with his skinny hand. There's so many figures of speech which are used in this poem. Find out the repetition of ha sound, and you can say you have alliteration here. And if you want to know more about figures of speech, then you can watch the video which is there available on this channel. He holds him with his skinny hand. Now, that wedding guest, the seller, the ancient mariner, held the wedding guest with his thin hand. And then, he started narrating the story. He said, there was a ship. Quoth he. Again, you have this Quoth. Quoth means said. You have archaic word. There was a ship, quoth he. He said there was a ship. And you'll find out some, interesting, humorous, incidents also. When he said there was a ship, look at the word spoken by wedding. Hold off. Unhand me, grey-beard loon. Loon is used, again we have this as archaic word. Loon means mad person. Are you mad, grey-beard loon? Hold off, leave me. Unhand me. Eftsoon means at once. Again we have this as archaic word. His hand dropped, he dropped. Again archaic word, dropped. Left. When he said, hold off, unhand me, oh grey-beard loon. Immediately, the ancient manner, that seller, dropped his hand. Now, that ancient manner, as you have come to know, that he wanted him to hear his story. And he could speak only a single sentence, that there was a ship. But, he was being interrupted by that wedding guest. And in a very harsh tone, he said, hold off, unhand me, grey-beard loon. And the very next moment, his hand was dropped by that seller. Now, there was no other alternative left for ancient manner. And we're coming to the supernatural part of the poem. He holds him with his glittering eye. Holds. Holds here means captivates, hypnotizes. He holds him with his glittering eye. So many times you'll find out the use of the word glittering, bright and all that. He holds him with his glittering eye. Now the wedding guest was held by the glittering eyes of ancient manner. And what happened after that? The wedding guest stood still. Now he is standing still and listens like a 3-year child. And he's listening to the story like a 3-year child. And the mariner had his will. The mariner was successful in stopping him and began narrating his story. At this moment, the wedding guest was spellbound. He is transfixed. And when he is hypnotized, when he is mesmerized by that, when he is hypnotized by that, he has no other alternative left. He had to listen to the story to be narrated by the ancient manner. Find out alliteration here when stood still is used. And like, I think here you have use of simile, because here with the comparison with 3-year child, and the word like is also there. Now, coming to the next stanza. The wedding guest sat on a stone. The wedding guest is now sitting on a stone. He cannot choose but hear, because as I told you that he is captivated now. He is spellbound now. So he has no other alternative left. He had to listen to the story. And thus spake, again we have this as archaic word for spoke. And thus spake on that ancient mariner, the bright-eyed mariner. Now that bright-eyed mariner started speaking. Now we have the use of the word bright-eyed. We have bright-eyed, glittering eyes. Now these are the phrases, adjectival phrases used for the eyes of. The ship was cheered, the harbor cleared. Merrily did we drop below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse top. Now the sailor said that their ship left the harbor as everyone was cheerful, everyone was happy. Harbor was also, clear. Merrily did we drop below the kirk. Kirk means, as I told you, the kirk is church. Church. As the ship sailed away, they could see the church, the hill, and also the lighthouse on the hill. So, they have just started their, voyage, as the sailor was telling to the wedding guest. You'll find out here that, the ship was cheered, the harbor reared. Now, when you read these lines, then you'll find out that, every time Coleridge is using some, literary device to make the poem more effective. Here we have a device which is called assonance. So, what is this assonance? Actually, it is the effect created when there is repetition of the vowel sound. Repetition of vowel sound in stressed syllables. In stressed syllables. Now, it's kind of, alliteration. When we said like, the ship was cheered, cleared. So here we have assonance, because we have the repetition of the vowel sound. Now similarly, now here, below the kirk, below the hill, below the lighthouse top, again we have a device which is called anaphora. Maybe the word is new for you, so you must know it. Anaphora. What is anaphora? Anaphora is a type of parallelism. It's a parallelism created when successive phrases or lines begin with the same words, and the repetition can be as simple as a single word or a long, or the entire phrase. Here you find out that below the kirk and below the hill, and then we have below the lighthouse. So with repetition of this word, so you call it a device which is called anaphora. Now coming to the next stanza, the sun came up upon the left, out of the sea came he, and he shone bright, and on the right went down the sea. Now, the sailor further said that as they sailed, the sun rose from their left. The meaning is that the sun rises the east, and meaning is that they were sailing southwards. The sunrise at the horizon seemed as if the sun was appearing out of the sea. It was a bright and sunny day, and finally at sunset, it again seemed to disappear into the sea. When you look at this stanza, so now you'll find out that this word he is used for sun,
And sun, and here you will find out personification, because the word sun is personified. It is personified. So we have a figure of speech called personification. Now, coming to the next stanza, higher and higher every day, till over the mast at noon, the wedding guest here beat his breast, for he heard the loud bassoon. Bassoon is a kind of musical instrument, a musical instrument. With each passing day, the sun would be higher up in the sky, and one day it was overhead at noontime, which indicates that the ship had reached the equatorial region. Now, mast, know that it's a large, pole. What happened that here you'll find out that the wedding guest here beat his breast. It seems towards that the spell of the mariner broke for a while, and he started, beating his breast as a sign of protest. That what are you doing that you are holding me here and I'm not able to attend to the party? Because he heard the loud bassoon, the musical instrument which are being, played there in the party. So he heard them, and he started, beating his, breast. He said, the bride hath paced into the hall, red as a rose is she, nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. What are you doing? The bride had, paced, walked into. The bride had walked into the hall, and she's as red, as a rose. It reminds me of Burnt's poem, which is always a good example of simile. My love is like a red rose. Nodding their heads before her goes the merry minstrelsy. Singers and musicians. Singers and musicians. Now, you see, hath is for has. Here in this stanza, you will find out the scene at the wedding. The bride walked into the hall. She was beautiful, pretty like a red rose. She was led into the hall by a group of musicians, and they were playing the happy, wedding songs. I think here you will have a figure of speech called simile. Now the wedding guest, he beat his breast. Yet he cannot choose but hear, and thus spake on that ancient man, the bright-eyed mariner. This is the next stanza. That the wedding guest, he beat his breast. We have the repetition of the line. And he has no other option actually. He has to listen to the story being narrated by the wedding guest, because he was spellbound. So he has to, listen to the story again. We have the spake, which means spoke, archaic word. Now, here, and now the storm blast came, and he was tyrannous and strong. He struck with his overtaking wings and chased us with south along. Now, the description is that here the word, look at the word tyrannous. Tyrannous means harsh, cruel, merciless, chased, dragged. No, the seller continued his story and said that a powerful and harsh storm seized their ship. It dragged their ship along towards, southern direction. You'll find out how the storm is depicted as, tyrannous and strong, and I think it is again personified, and we have personification here. Coming to the next stanza, with sloping masts and dipping prow, as he who pursued with Ellen blow, still treads the shadow of his foe, and forward bends his head. The ship drove fast, loud roared the blast, and southward we fled. Now, sloping means slanting. Prow is actually the front part of the ship. With sloping masts and dipping prow, as who pursued with Ellen blow. Now, the ship had been overpowered by the strong storm. The mast of the ship was sloping down, and the front part of the ship dipped into the sea due to the pressure of the wind. The ship was, forceful, and the roaring sound of the strong wind could be heard. The ship was overshadowed by the storm, just like a warrior, who sneaks, bends his head forward, and tries to escape from the shadow of the powerful enemy. The ship sailed at a very fast speed, which shows that the wind was intense and the roaring sound of the wind could be heard. They kept on sailing towards, the south direction. Again, as I told you that repeatedly we have archaic words. A here means, yes. Coming to the next stanza. And now there came both mist and snow, and it grew wondrous cold. And mast I came floating by, as green as emerald. Wondrous cold. How can cold be wondrous? Oxymoron. So it was mist, it was snow, it was extremely cold. And mast I came floating by, as green as emerald. Emerald means a precious stone. So the ship, reached the South Pole region, and it was surrounded by mist and snow. It was wondrous cold, as the sailor says, extremely cold. The result was that huge masses of ice, which were as tall as the mast of the ship, floated by. They were emerald, that is green in color. Now, in this situation, actually, they were making the voyage, and through the drifts, the snowy cliffs did send a dismal sheen, nor shapes of men nor beasts we ken. The ice was all between. The ice was all between. Not shapes of men nor beasts we can. We're not able to recognize the faces of the people, because the ice was all between. And through the drifts, the snow cliffs did send a dismal, gloomy brightness. And this dismal scene can be the example of oxymoron. So we have the ice was all between, ice and ice and ice. because next stanza you'll find out about ice. The ice was here, the ice was there, the ice was all around. It cracked and growled and roared and hauled like noises in a sound. Sound is the act of fainting. When ice was breaking, actually, it was cracking. And when it was cracking, it was growling and roaring and howling. You just read this line, it cracked and growled and roared and hauled. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. And the ice was here, the white ice was there. This is actually the repetition for emphasis. So everywhere, the seller found out, the ice. Coming to the next stanza, you just look at this. At length did cross an albatross. For the first time, we find the appearance of albatross. Albatross, a sea bird. It played an important role in the poem. We saw an albatross. Through the fog it came, as if it had been a Christian soul. We hailed it in God's name. We welcomed it in the name of God. We found that, it's the Spirit sent by God to us, because nothing was there. So we have here, the albatross for the first time. The next stanza, it ate the food it never had eat, and round it flew. The ice did split with a thunder fit. The helmsman steered us through. Split means breaking into parts. Helmsman, the person who steers the ship. So the albatross had the food and the crew fed it. It would fly around the ship. It was a good, omen for the ship, because with the arrival of the albatross, a good thing happened. The ice, which had surrounded the ship, is split into two parts with a loud sound. And the ship, which had been, stuck for so many days, started sailing once again. They started thinking that I think this is really a good spirit, because it has, saved us, and we have started, our journey. Now you see here in first two lines, I would like to tell you one device which is also found in the previous stanza, which I would like to show you. This in here. I would like to show you here also, because the word cracked, which is written here, is not like that. It's like this this, and it's like that. Similarly, here in this stanza, you'll find out a device which I would like to share with you. This is I'll tell you when it comes. Yes, this is, yes. So it's a device called elision. What is the meaning of that? Elision refers to the leaving out of an unstressed syllable or vowel usually in order to keep a regular meter in a line of poetry. It's a deliberate omission of a sound between two words. In the previous stanza, you'll find out in cracked E was omitted, in growled E was omitted, in rolled E was omitted, in hauled it was E was omitted. Similarly, here, near. So the word was, omitted here. So we have that, literary device here. Coming to next stanza. A good south wind sprung up behind, the albatross did follow, and every day for food or play came to the mariner's hollow. Hollow is call, again an archaic word. So good south wind started blowing, albatross was there, every day it was coming for food or play at the call of the mariners. Now, in the next stanza, everything was, going well. What happens? You were just coming to the concluding part of first, part of the poem. In mist or cloud, on mast or shroud, it buzzed for vespers 9, whilst all the night through fog smoke white glimmered the white moon shine. Now, shroud here means sail. Buzzed is rested, sad. Vespers 9, the evening prayer. Evening prayer. So the albatross would sit either on, either the mast or the sail of the ship in all the weathers, be there mist or, cloud. It always remained with the ship. It would sit there, at a fixed time every day, just like the people pray in the church at a fixed time in the evening. All through the night when the sky would be white with fog and the white, moonshine glimmered, the albatross bird remained there, around the ship. So, albatross was always with the sailors, with the ship. Now coming to the very important stanza, the last, stanza, very turning point. God save thee, ancient mariner, from the fiends that plague thee thus. Fiends, evil spirit, plague, trouble, disturb. God save thee, ancient manner. Now, suddenly, what happens? The sailor's face became serious. And the wedding guest said that the God may save the sailor from, any evil spirit that had struck him. He asked the sailor why, did he appear so strange? And what had happened? Because he said, why lookest thou so? Why lookest thou so? Look at this line. The sailor confessed that he took his bow and arrow and shot the albatross. I shot the albatross. I think this is actually the turning point of the poem. The albatross was killed by the ancient mariner. So what happens when he, killed the albatross? Whether remains the same or some changes are there. Why is he narrating the story? Why, is there the theme of sin and penance and the power of prayer and all that? You'll find out in the upcoming parts of the poem. So I'll continue my lecture related to part 2 and other parts of the poem in the upcoming video. Thank you very much.